Deirbhile, how good is it to be back? It's had a pretty rough year with the injury to the ACL.
Yeah, look, it's great. Hard to describe, I suppose, and getting back into the thick of things. Like, I think today is exactly 9 months post-op, so it's pretty exciting. It's a relatively tight timeline, but yeah, just like huge thanks to everyone in the IRQ really for putting in the time and effort into making sure that I did get back, and especially Roisin, our physio, Nathan Cardy, who was working with me a lot as well, Ed Slattery, our S&C, who kind of took the reins on things for the last while, and then the coaches for keeping me involved just in everything really, and the girls who have been phenomenal supports for me really throughout. It has been a tough year, like, no doubt about that. Definitely a low point in my career, but yeah, between my friends and family and the girls on the team, it's been easier to get through, let's say.
As you said, it's even tougher when you're looking and you're seeing London and Belfast and qualifying for the World Cup and all these exciting things happening, and you're kind of on the sideline just taking that in.
Yeah, I'd like to eventually have a good day in green. That would be everybody else has gotten to do it once or twice now at this stage, so, but like, to be honest, I think we were all just so focused on World Cup qualification, and I think we're in a position now as a squad that we really don't care who's doing it, as long as we get this team back to where it should be. Like, that's something we've spoken about a lot as a group, is it's team first, and I think Scott drives that, the rest of his coaching squad drive that, and the girls, especially Tricky and Sam, they drive that massively. So it was a disappointing day in terms of, for me, I wish I could have contributed in a different way, but what an incredible day at the same time. I remember being up in the stands with a few of the girls, totting up points, and a lot of the girls on the pitch didn't know the result in the Welsh game, so they had no idea that they had qualified us for a World Cup, and then getting to say that to some of them when we got onto the pitch at the end was, just incredible. Like, they didn't believe us not until they saw the sign. So it was still so special. Yeah, glad to have been there for sure.
Scott just confirmed there that Sam Monaghan has an ACL as well now. Have you been in touch with her, because you know what that journey is like, that return obviously?
Yeah, she's here with us. So it's been a tough couple of weeks for Sam. It was in a Prem game with Gloucester, and yeah, look, it's an unfortunate one. I think everyone in rugby, probably everyone in women's sport, has had a scare from it or knows someone that has done it. It's unfortunately a very common injury, and it's a tough one, but I think we can draw from each other for support. Like, we'll miss Sam big time, but as I said, she's involved in here, she's going to be helping out, and having her support and her leadership throughout the whole thing is going to be massive. And like with myself trying to get back for things, she's going to have a timeline in her head, and we'll do everything we can to help her get to that point as well.
Was there any stage where you thought you might get back for maybe the lateral rounds of the interpose, or?
Yeah, like, at the very early stages of your rehab, you don't really know. I suppose you're waiting to see how the knee reacts to different things, and every knee is a little bit different. It was maybe just 2 weeks too tight, and too much of a gamble. Like, I'm in pretty good nick now coming back, but equally I wouldn't have done as much training as the girls would have done down in Munster, just with the rehab restrictions and having to have certain people watching you come back in sessions and things like that. So it just wasn't the right timing, but I don't think it's going to have made a huge difference to my progression. This was always my target, and it would have been nice to run out in the Munster jersey for sure, but I think making a smart decision was probably the right call.
And you see the likes of, Aoife Wafer kind of ripping it up. What's that like, watching her do what she did?
Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah, really good. No, look, it's fantastic. I mean, Wafer's an unbelievable athlete, and I suppose the thing with it is, like, you want to be competing with the best. I'm delighted to have that much competition in the back row, because you know that if you do get the opportunity and you do earn a spot, that you've been pushed absolutely as hard as you can be to get there. And like, Wafer's going to keep doing that, Brett Hogan's going to keep doing that, Tricky's leading in every aspect of the game. So yeah, it's a challenge for sure, but I'm so pleased that that's the challenge that's waiting for me. And if it's a matter of coming off the bench or supporting the squad just by being a training panelist, I don't really mind anymore as long as I'm back out there training with the girls. So definitely looking to compete, obviously, and looking to push the girls. But as I said, World Cup prep and WXV, getting that underway first is the main thing.
We were chatting to Clean a couple of minutes ago, and one of the things she was saying is how the prospects in Irish women's rugby now compared to a couple of years ago are so different. And one of the things that jumped out in the women's interpros this year was the amount of 19, 20, 21 year olds that look like they've been playing rugby for 10 plus years. How excited are you for that level of talent coming through, or even how envious are you of what they have coming ahead of them?
Yeah, it's a mix of the two for sure. We've a squad buddy system in at the moment to link us up with experienced players with less experienced players and stuff like that. And I found out this morning that I'm 10 years older than Katrina Finn, and that is terrifying. But she's an example of it. She looks like she's been playing rugby every day since she was born. Just a natural talent. The ability to come in and not have to be taught how to read the game, that's huge. So many of us spent so long, I suppose, just getting to grips with not just being an athlete but being a rugby player. These girls are out and out rugby players, and then they're just catching up with the physicality of getting to senior level, which is how it should be. It shouldn't be the reverse. They have so much talent, and there's so many more of them, and that competition breeds improvement. You have to get better to get picked now, and it wasn't that it wasn't competitive before, but there was just less people playing, so there was probably more opportunity for every individual. Now we know that in the next couple of years there's going to be professional contracts on the table for provincial players, which is huge. We have the Celtic Cup coming through, so there's more development opportunities at a higher standard, and the underage systems they're flourishing, and we're seeing the benefit of it. Faith, Katrina is another example. Chisholm has come up through the ranks, and there's loads more as well that are coming in today, like Hannah Clark and Robin as well. We saw them over the weekend absolutely tearing it up, so it's so exciting. And yeah, I'm probably a little envious. I enjoyed my journey, but a couple of years underage probably wouldn't have done me any harm either.
Cheers.
The players must be delighted, Deirbhile, with the idea of momentum now coming off the back of the Interpros. I know it was something that was talked about after the Six Nations, that after all the buzz of the finale there, that there was no rugby again for a couple of months. Do you get that sense even just today that everyone's gunning for the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think, to be fair, at the end of that Six Nations, people needed a break as well, so getting a bit of a break before going into Interpro made it a bit fresher, so everyone was really excited for that tournament. And I think this is, again, like you said, just building on that. It's been a really exciting year, and we've seen how far we can come in a short space of time, with the right management and the right structures around us. We now get to see all that talent actually out on the field getting optimised, and I think we lost that for a little while, but it is such an exciting couple of weeks. It's obviously a huge challenge as well, but we prefer to be doing this and challenging ourselves up at the top level, and again, just having one eye on the World Cup, preparing and thinking about who we could potentially come up against there and being best prepared in that sense. But yeah, definitely everyone's buzzing.
What's the focus on mentality for this campaign and this window? Last time at the Six Nations it was very much, look, we're still learning, we've a lot to get up to, and now you're third of six. England and France are still on their own, but you're the best of the rest, and you've qualified for the World Cup. Are you going to build on that now developmentally, or is it still a case of we need to just get the basics right and see how we fare against the world's best?
I think you're always looking to perfect the basics. So the basics win games. We don't need to do anything particularly fancy, I don't think, because we have some extremely talented players, and it's probably just about finding spaces and opportunities to get them on the ball. It's again that team first mentality. If we can get our systems right, which we've been developing, and then be able now at this stage to come out of system and get back into it easier, so that we can capitalize on opportunities that we create. It's going to be an unstructured game at times, so I think that's been a focus for us in the training in the centralised anyway so far, is how do we just be rugby players first and then use our systems and everything as our foundation. So I'd say, yeah, still like a development focus. Everybody has their work-ons, but it's not so much. I don't think we're using that mentality of, oh, we're building again. We're on the next step at this stage. I think we can firmly say that, and looking to lift that again, like you said, to chase those teams that are up at the top.
In terms of that, obviously, Scott there mentioned obviously with Considine obviously be back, and I'm sure it's delighted to see her kind of return in recent weeks, and obviously she had a very similar injury to herself.
Yeah, like I've played with Emer for years. Some of my first Irish camps she would have been involved in as well, and it's incredible. I mean, we just saw Ashley Orchard backs do it, come back after having Arabella, and now getting to see Emer do the same and be one of the first in the 15s program to do it is incredible, really. And she's such a talent. So coming back after again a fairly tough year with the ACL. Managing to get back for Munster Minute, so she won that race, but she's just a great person to have around camp. A lot of leadership quality, a lot of experience. She's seen some of the dark days and some of the good days of Irish rugby, so I think as a leader to come back in, she's going to be fantastic for us.
I suppose, like, again, obviously you're playing Australian and then WXV, and I suppose you're playing teams you haven't maybe played for quite a while. I'm sure that'll be a huge benefit coming to World Cup next year, because you're kind of testing yourself against, I suppose, a lot of different nations, I guess.
Yeah, it's exciting because like they all play a slightly different style of rugby, and I think there's, for me anyway, I've always dreamed of playing against the Black Ferns. I think similarly to the men's game, playing the All Blacks is kind of this special occasion. I've never played any of these teams actually, so I think there's quite a few of us in the squad that haven't played against any of these teams. Few will have played against the USA, but at the same time there are girls that are familiar with some of the players. Molly Scuffin-McCabe is playing over in New Zealand at the moment, and then the girls that are in the Premiership will know some of the Canadians and some of the girls from the US as well. So it's exciting for sure, and WXV is still a relatively new tournament, so even just getting used to that format, and Vancouver will be pretty exciting anyway.
And had you been over to Vancouver or even Canada when you were involved in sevens back a number of years ago?
Yeah, I was in Canada a good few times. We played out on the island, so I've been out to Vancouver Island a bit. My sister actually lives in Vancouver, so I've been out there to visit her, and actually grew up in Calgary, so I was there for 3 years when I was a kid. But so I've been quite a few times, yeah.
Very good.
What's your sister's name?
Kate.
Just following on that, is there any kind of, Cameron mentioned earlier about, let's say, the Wales example of last year, like they got some heavy beatings in WXV1 and it didn't go well. Now, who knows if, both were linked, but is there any fear factor for you, as excited as you are about playing the likes of the Black Ferns, is there any fear that it could affect you kind of psychologically, and that this might not come at the right time for you, like going from WXV3 to WXV1?
Yeah, look, I think it's definitely something we've discussed, but as a group, I think what we've come away with is realising that the thing we've been chasing for the longest time is that World Cup qualification. That was the biggest fear factor, is not qualifying again. I think having that off the back is honestly the biggest burden gone, the biggest weight lifted. So everything out from here is now really relishing the opportunity to play without that additional pressure. There's always a pressure to perform, there's no doubt about that, and obviously we've had one or two rough results with the English game and stuff like that, but it's still about what we can do as a team, and how we can get better. I don't think it's so much about worrying about what opposition we're against or what level they're at. We're aware that we'll have to raise our game in certain aspects, but again, that's about us. And I think that's really important, that especially as leadership in the group, that we really make sure that everybody in the team, especially the newer girls in, are aware of that. We're definitely going after performances, we're going after wins, like no doubt about it, but we're aware that it's a different challenge. Any new team is a different challenge, but teams of that calibre, you're going to have to fight really hard, but we're really looking forward to that. You want to be tested against the best. And in terms of the timing, I actually think it's perfect, because one, as I said, World Cup is off the back now, but also, like Scott mentioned, we could very easily meet one of these teams in a pool game, or if we get out of pools at a later stage, and not having to face the Haka for the first time in a World Cup would be pretty nice. Canada are obviously motoring on fairly well, so I'd like to get a crack at them before we get to a tournament that has so much at stake later down the line.
Deirbhile, do you very much see yourself as a back row now, or are you open to just for injuries doing another shift at hook, or are you very much?
I'll do whatever I need to do. Yeah, I think I see myself as a back row, but again, if it comes down to being a utility forward that has to do a few other bits to get on the pitch, I'm happy enough to do those. It's as we said earlier, like it's extremely competitive. So wherever there's a chink in the armour, I'll go for that. Yeah.
Is there any position you wouldn't play?
I don't think I'm going to manage second row somehow. Yeah, I'd say that's probably off the cards. And I think if the girls saw me in a 10 jersey, they'd all walk off the pitch as well. So I'd give it a crack, mind you, but I don't think they'd be too happy about it.
Is that everyone?
Yeah.
Great.
Great.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks a million, guys.
Good luck.
Thank you. It is. Thanks a million, guys. Thank you.